Dub Nation. After the final buzzer. This is where you come for instant post-game reaction.
Oh, hell yeah.
This is Dub's OT.
Can't wait.
With John Dickinson.
Hey, JD, what you up to, sugar? Long time no talk to.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live at KNBR.com and on the KNBR app.
Warriors lead is 9. Here's Buddy Hield. Catch and shoot. The stroke is pure, and Buddy Hield delivers another big three-pointer.
And it's been a few days of massive Buddy Hield three-pointers for the Golden State Warriors. Another incredible performance from Hield as he goes for 24. Warriors leading scorer in Game 1 of the Western Semis at Minnesota. Dubs get the job done, 99-88, as we welcome you in here to Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627 as the Warriors take the 1-0 series advantage. And for at least one night, it was the rust versus rest debate plays in favor of the Warriors because the Timberwolves were rusty in this game, having not played since their Game 5 victory in Los Angeles against the Lakers in the first round. And the Warriors in rhythm and really played, I think, an extension of the game that they played in Houston on Sunday to jump out. The Rockets, the Warriors were able to make uncomfortable early. The Timberwolves in this game couldn't hit a three. They missed their first 16 threes on a night where they end up 5 for 29. Anthony Edwards was all kinds of out of sorts until 1 minute to go in the first half. Didn't score a point until a minute to go in the first half. And the Warriors, even with Stephen Curry only playing 13 minutes, and of course we can't bury the lead because this entire series, even with the Warriors taking the 1-0 series advantage by winning in Minnesota, now hinges on Stephen Curry and the left hamstring strain, which has already been announced. We don't know the severity at this point. We'll get the latest from Steve Kerr as he'll have his post-game press conference from Target Center in Minneapolis, and we'll get the latest from Steve on that. I would expect probably a more extensive evaluation to come tomorrow in terms of a timeline. This series, point blank, bottom line, end of story, is going to be incredibly difficult, if not impossible, for the Warriors to win if Steph Curry's going to be out for, let's say, Game 2, 3, 4, 5, or beyond at that point. But the one thing the Warriors did tonight was give themselves a chance should he be able to come back in, say, 12 days in a Game 6, if they can somehow get another game of the next 3 or 4 in the series. And look, you never know how things are going to play out. I mean, the famous Jimmy Butler, who skips over his time with the Timberwolves, the famous story as told by Jeff Teague that went viral within the last couple of months, Jimmy basically running the Timberwolves with the threes because he wanted out of Minnesota before he quit on them. So, I mean, if anybody could win against another team being shorthanded and help lead his squad to victory against the odds, it would probably be Jimmy Butler, to the tune of maybe being able to eke out one of these next 2-3 games to at least keep the Warriors alive. But again, we'll get you the latest on Steph as it relates to this hamstring as we head through the night here. 808 KNBR is the number. 415-808-5627 to jump in and join the conversation via the phone lines, also via the Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line if you want to chime in that way. We are on YouTube and Twitch as well, as always, each and every night. So the best chat in sports is the Dubs OT chat, and we appreciate everybody filing into the room here on YouTube and those watching on Twitch as well. We'll get to Kyle's Clicks, the very best of the chat as the back and forth begins here on this Tuesday night with the Warriors winning over the Timberwolves 99-88. So 808 KNBR if you want to join the conversation on the phones. Again, 415-808-5627. And again, give me your thoughts on this game, Buddy Hield, incredible for the second consecutive game. I mean, the Warriors, Draymond, I mean, how often does he come up with the Warriors' first basket? It feels like it's a night in, night out kind of a thing. Buddy Hield, the big question, what were the Warriors going to do on Anthony Edwards? Hield started on Anthony Edwards, did a nice job. Again, I think the Timberwolves were a little rusty, and if you watch the Timberwolves a lot, they haven't been this team for the most part the last 2 months, but if you watch Timberwolves a lot at home, they get off to some just incredibly horrific starts at home, often. Now, again, not necessarily in the playoffs, and they've been, for the most part, a different team over the last couple of months, basically going toe-to-toe with the Warriors and Grizzlies and Clippers and everybody else down the stretch to earn the 6th seed and the first-round matchup against the Lakers. But you need to only to go back to the 2 games that the Warriors played at Target Center pre-Jimmy Butler trade. Warriors had a huge lead into the first quarter in both of those games, and it allowed them to prevail in both of those games. The Warriors are now 3-0 at Target Center this year, and they've won 4 of 5 against the Timberwolves overall. So if you're looking for maybe a reason for some optimism, again, we knew nothing about what this matchup was going to look like for the Warriors with the Jimmy Butler squad. The Timberwolves playing so much better than they had at the point in which the Warriors played them back in December and the most recent matchup of January 15. So you didn't really know what to expect at all coming into this one, other than the Warriors are a lot better team than they were then because they got Jimmy Butler, and the Timberwolves have been a lot better team than they were because they just became more cohesive and were playing better basketball, learning to play together and the like. So you look at that, and the Warriors just get off to another really good start, 13-6. Timberwolves then with a 10-0 run to take the lead there. Warriors got a little sped up. They were missing decent looks, and one thing that I noted immediately was the fact that make or miss, the Warriors were much more comfortable running their offense against the Timberwolves than they were against the Rockets. And we talked about this after the Rockets series ended on Sunday, the fact that the way the Rockets were defending the Warriors, going up against anybody else would feel almost like a breath of fresh air. The Warriors were really getting into their cuts. They're getting open looks from 3, not always in position, not always hitting them, but they were getting them, and I think that was an optimistic sign early in this one. 14-5 rather close to the quarter for the Timberwolves after the Warriors led 13-6. Gobert with 6 points and 5 boards. Warriors were down, and then the Warriors took the thing over into the first quarter really with the final bucket, but beginning of the second quarter, the Warriors end up with a 15-0 run to start the quarter. Draymond Green, another night where he was just a man possessed and also hitting the 3 ball. 4 for 5 at that point for Draymond. Draymond ends up 4 for 10. So he missed his last 5 from 3, but you'll take the 4 3-point makes, especially with that high level of efficiency. And the Warriors took control, flipped and took control of the game in that second quarter with that 15-0 run. And Warriors went zone. Timberwolves struggled against the Warriors zone defense, and they were just making it happen. But Curry limping and coming out of the game right in the midst of that run with what is a left hamstring strain. It came out later on in the quarter that he was going to be out. Just looking through and scanning some of the info from Minnesota, Steve Kerr telling reporters in Minnesota that the Warriors are operating under the assumption that Steph Curry will miss game 2 due to this hamstring injury. Definitely planning to not have him be available Thursday. Don't know yet for sure. So not completely ruled out for sure for Thursday. But that was my initial thought when it was a hamstring, and it was pretty clearly immediately. I mean, Steph, as he drove, knew exactly what had happened and immediately asked to come out of the game, went right to the locker room. And once you kind of knew it was a hamstring, you knew that Steph was going to be done for the night immediately. And I would go as far, again, not a doctor. We don't have any inside information here, but I would have gone as far as to say at that point that I would have thought not only the rest of tonight, but also probably Thursday as well. And so you look at that, and the Warriors winning this game became essential to their having any semblance of a chance to try to win this series, especially as they built the lead all the way up to 23. So many contributors for the Warriors to build the lead up to 23 and then ultimately hang on as the Timberwolves cut it all the way down to 9. And you know, it did get a little sketchy. Middle of the fourth quarter, Anthony Edwards got going. Naz Reid hit a couple of threes. The Timberwolves were ramping up the D. And look, we've seen the Warriors all year without Steph just go through these stretches, even occasionally since Jimmy Butler has come into the fold, where they can go 4, 5, 6 minutes without scoring. And you felt like if they ended, one of those stretches were coming, they still, even up 23, had the potential to maybe lose the game. Didn't happen. And I think when you look at it, didn't happen. And there were a lot of key, Kevon Looney was unbelievable defensively and on the boards in that middle of the fourth quarter stretch. GP2, who's dealing with this elbow inflammation in the left elbow, questionable coming into this, battled the illness that kept him out of Game 7 in Houston. GP2 was awesome. Pat Spencer gets dusted off, and he's played well and deserves credit every time his number's been called in the playoffs. And his number was called with Steph out and will continue to be called. Basically, as the backup point guard for the duration of the time that Steph is going to be out. Jonathan Kuminga, even tonight, awful first half, and he was the initial extra man in the first half that Steve Kerr went to when Steph went down because he needed another body. I don't think Kuminga was in the initial rotation, but you got to stay ready so you can be ready and you don't have to get ready. And again, Kuminga struggled in that first shift, but in the third quarter, he really did play better, had a nice cut. The defense was there. And again, I don't want to say building block for Kuminga, but it wasn't a disastrous shift. And really, it was only the second time, I think, in the entire playoffs, and even going back to the last couple weeks of the regular season, really only the second time that Kuminga hadn't had a completely disastrous shift. And the Warriors needed it. He had the big dunk, like as I mentioned, on the cut. But you just look up and down here for the Warriors. Buddy Hield, they win this game because they hit 18 threes, and Buddy Hield sets the tone by hitting 5 of 8 from 3 in a game where he was 2 for 11 from 2. Missing layups left and right. Jimmy Butler, 20, 11, and 8 for the Warriors. And then Draymond right behind Buddy Hield in terms of the three-point prowess, 4 of 10 from three-point range for Draymond Green. And that was pretty much it. I know Steve Kerr didn't want to play the starters heavy minutes and get into the 40s. Draymond ended up at 35, Buddy and Jimmy with 40. I think Jimmy would tell you, hey, I got to play 40 because Steph's out. GP2 off the bench, Looney off the bench, and I will say even Kuminga in that third quarter, positive factors for the Warriors in this one. Quentin Post was out there in the second quarter, part of that big run as the Warriors kind of flipped the game and took control of it. But to have this game in hand is just imperative to the Warriors having any chance to win this series. And I think that's, again, it's going to be tough. We'll see. Steph Curry not formally ruled out yet for Game 2, but Steve Kerr telling reporters in Minneapolis that the Warriors are going to be operating under the belief that they're not going to have Steph Curry coming up on Thursday night in Game 2. And I'll give you the other, just the reality of this thing. This thing's coming every other day. So if this is a significant hamstring strain, and we'll play it out in 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627 to jump in and join the conversation. Give me your heroes from the game tonight. Give me your chances. Like, how many games can the Warriors get away without having Steph Curry to win this series? Can they win the series if Steph can't come back until game 6, because I'm looking at the schedule and it's off day, game 3, off day, game 4, off day, game 5 back in Minnesota, travel day in between game 4 and game 5, travel day Friday between game 2 and game 3. The next 3 games now are basically, if Steph can't go, can the Warriors find a way to win one of the next 3 games? Either game 2, jumping out again in Minnesota, maybe the crowd's a little tight, maybe it's a little weird in the building. The Warriors have won all 3 games, as I mentioned, that they've played in Target Center this year. Do the Timberwolves start to feel it a little bit without Steph? They have been the kind of team all year that will play down to the level of competition. So that, I mean, do that at your own peril if you're Minnesota. But kind of the question to get to is, how many games do you think the Warriors can get away without having Steph in this series to recover from this hamstring injury and still have the opportunity to win it? 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Again, it's Dubs OT with JD as the Warriors win it 99-88, the final. Golden State, 1-0 series advantage over the Timberwolves. Game 2 on Thursday night, game 3 and 4 Saturday and Monday. And, of course, those games will be back in San Francisco with the Warriors looking to continue to stay alive here and continue to build off tonight, which, I mean, the momentum carried from Sunday. I thought this game was basically an extension of Sunday for the Warriors. It really, the way that they played poised early. They were getting better looks. They were flying around defensively. Rusty Nail, as he points out in the chat, Warriors scrapping on the offensive glass. Yeah, this is a team that Rudy Gobert can do some damage, but this is a team that not as formidable on the offensive boards. Good defensively, but not great defensively in the ways that really frustrate the Warriors physically at the level that the Rockets did. I mean, buttoned up, I think, without a doubt. The Rockets were more buttoned up defensively, more athletes flying around. You can beat Minnesota has some good defenders, but they have a couple of guys you can attack. And I think that allows, even though the Warriors didn't put up 100, it allows the Warriors to just more comfortably run their offense. Now, again, all bets are off if you look at the way this thing is going to play out without Stephen Curry, likely, I would say, at this point on Thursday, and again, maybe beyond at that particular point in time. But the Warriors are just, for whatever reason, and again, we didn't know what to make of it. Steve Kerr talking pregame about not being able to take much away from the 4 regular season matchups because they were so long ago, because the Warriors team is so different. I mean, he joked he almost laughed when he saw the lineups from the games that the Warriors played, going back to 3 in December and the 1 in January at Target Center that the Warriors won, because the team is just so dramatically different. All pre-Jimmy Butler trade. Wiggins was in there. Kuminga was a big part of it. I mean, this is a completely different team at this point that's gotten on this run. So it was kind of, you didn't know how much the individual matchups could play in this thing, but the Warriors are just more comfortable against the Timberwolves, I think, even than they were against the Rockets for a good chunk of the series. Way more space on the floor. Darren Brazil, excellent point. Way more space on the floor against Minnesota. The Wolves just can't cover as much ground. They're good defensively, but not as athletic. Again, attackable. You can attack Conley. You can attack Naz Reid. Like, there are areas. Jaden McDaniels is an excellent defender, but he and others have a tendency to fall asleep. And there was a lot of falling asleep on cuts. A lot of the ball movement stuff was leading to some defensive errors. And at times, let's be honest, Minnesota can be a low IQ team. We talked about the Rockets being a low IQ team but they have the athleticism to make up for it on defense. The Timberwolves don't have the athleticism to make up for it on defense. So as the Warriors move through this series, again, it all hinges on Steph. I don't want to sugarcoat it. I don't want to act like, it's the excuse me. The Warriors can win, 3 more games without Steph. That would be an all-timer against this Wolves team, as well as this Wolves team was playing. But they look like a completely different team than the team that we saw just go in and throttle the Lakers and beat them in 5. And the Warriors are just comfortable against them. So it's going to be interesting to see how things play out, but now the Warriors basically, I think if you look at it, have 3 games. If Steph's not playing, Steph is able to somehow come back and be able to play on I would say at the earliest Saturday. If he had the ability to come back and play Saturday, I think the Warriors would be suddenly in business again, assuming, and you got to be careful with a hamstring. You don't want to have a hamstring strain that winds up being something that turns into a full-blown pull, and then it is a wrap for multiple weeks and or a month, and that probably would spell the end of the Warriors' chances in any series. Mickey D, I'm looking, as we'll get to the phones in just a moment, Edwards isn't going to play another game like this one. No, that's true. That's absolutely true, which was why the Warriors had to, once they got the lead, even without Steph, hang on and win it. It would feel tonight, if the Warriors had lost this game, considering Curry's status, like the series was over, especially after they built a 23-point lead. I mean, it gets down to 9 with about 7 minutes to go, and you're thinking, oh, boy. Are the Timberwolves going to play that badly and still have a chance to eke out a comeback victory? And now the Warriors are basically playing without Steph potentially for a game or 2 or 3 or 4. I sort of look at it this way. We'll get to Matt in Livermore. We'll get to Danny in Vancouver. Again, if you want to shout out your player of the game, your game ball tonight here on Dubs OT, we can do that. But I think the pathway for the Warriors, when I look at the schedule, you got to play the next 4. Like, if this turns out to be a week plus kind of a thing for Steph, the question is, can you win one of the next 3? Get it to 2-2 going into Game 5. Take your chances in Game 5, and then get to that point where you're alive for a Game 6, because that's where you get the 3-day break because of the Valkyries that we talked about. And you play 2 weeks from 12 days from now, you would play at Chase Center in Game 6. And that's, again, almost 2 weeks in terms of an ability to heal. Again, that might be on the more extreme case. And I think Steph Curry, if this isn't something where he just gets ruled out for 2 weeks tomorrow after they do an MRI and all of the testing and different things like that to see what grade of strain this winds up being, the question would be, can they get it to where it's 3-2 and Steph can come back, and you're confident in the way this team can play against Minnesota with Steph, without Steph, all season long, to where maybe you get the game at Chase and then you come back and you play a game similar maybe to the one you played tonight in a Game 7 and try to advance that way. I think that would be the best hope if this strain is significant enough to where tomorrow we basically learn Steph can't play for like a week and a half. That would be or at least a week. Like, how often in the regular season, and I know playoffs are different than regular season, but how often is it that immediate, well, he's going to be reevaluated in a week? Well, if Steph tomorrow is going to be reevaluated in a week, that's no Game 2, no Game 3, no Game 4. It's really no Game 5. And then you get the break at that point, because Game 5 is a week from tomorrow back in Minneapolis. All right, let's get to the phones. Matt in Livermore. Our tip-off caller tonight here. It's Dubs OT with JD. Warriors win at 99-88, but they lose Steph Curry. Matt, you are on the Sports Leader.
Thanks. Hey, bro, hope you're having a good night. I'm going to keep it really simple. If the Warriors somehow manage to steal game 2, then you could afford to sit Curry one more time. If we lose in 2 days and we tie it up 1-1, the last thing we're going to want is him to have to sit 2 more games and have the guys feel like they're all must-win games without him, and us going down 3-1 against these young guys right here. They're not going to shoot 0 for 18 from 3 every first half. Naz Reid's looking good. Anthony Edwards is going to turn it up. We couldn't buy a bucket to start that fourth quarter. We're going to need offense, and if we somehow squeeze game 2 away, then he could sit on Saturday. If not, your proposal is going to have him down 3-1. We're going to need him back ASAP.
Yeah, I mean, look, it truly is, Matt, the game-to-game. I mean, it truly is the day-to-day nature of it. And you're right. I mean, I don't think he's going to be playing on Thursday. I mean, we'll see. I mean, they didn't want to formally rule it out, but I mean, let's be honest. I mean, he's not playing Thursday. But especially up 1-0, because now you do have that one game to play with. And then, you hope that this is a couple of day thing that can get fixed. And then you move forward to where he could, the ideal situation would be he could play Saturday and it's 1-1. The ideal sort of worst case scenario that would be the case. It feels like it's at least going to be a week, and that would mean maybe the ability to play in a game 5, which again I think means you'd have to figure out a way, kind of like the Warriors did, Matt, in the Rockets series without Jimmy, to win one of those 2 home games to get it to that point where it's at least even coming back to Minnesota, and then maybe he's able to get back in there. But if it's even coming back to Minnesota, you again could maybe say you have a chance to play with it. So it's I with the 3 days off after game 5. So none of it's ideal. I do think he has to be day to day, unless it's just so severe tomorrow that they say he's got to miss a week, or he's got to miss a week and a half, or whatever it is. But I'm with you. They at least have a chance to go out there and try to steal another one on Thursday with all of the pressure in the world on Minnesota, which again, as I often say, it's better than the alternative. Better than the alternative, Matt. Thanks for the call, man.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. Appreciate you.
Yep.
Matt in Livermore checking in. Let's go from Matt to Danny in Vancouver here before the top of the 10 o'clock hour. Back home here, Dubs OT with JD. Warriors win 1-0 series advantage. What's going on tonight, Danny?
Good evening, my friend. Congrats to the boys tonight. I really admired how they came together after Steph went down. Buddy was great again. The defense was really good. I know Minnesota had a very tough shooting night, but I thought we were playing really A-level defense. So that was great. It was just bittersweet during the game because everyone probably Googling how long a hamstring injury takes to
right.
to mend. That being said, it's obviously the lead, like you said, the existential question is, can the Warriors survive? So I'm not a doctor either. I played a lot of competitive basketball. I just personal experience with hamstring injuries. They're tough. I mean, they're tough to heal quickly. And usually I think it's just pretty much rest. So I'm thinking, and I don't think they'll announce anything, JD, because they're going to be coy. I don't think they want to tip their hand. But that being said, he won't be playing Thursday. I bet all my lunch money on that. And he may or may not play the first home game. I think the best case scenario is the Dubs will take one of the next 3 games. Okay.
Yep.
So it's split. And then thank goodness for the Valkyries, because that gives them a little extra rest time. I think the best case scenario is he'll be back in game 5. So again, I'm not a doctor, not a physician. I'm just speculating like we all are. And I think the key will be, Jimmy's got to step up his game even more. He's got to really be a monster out there. Buddy's got to keep shooting like that, and some of the role players are got to step up. And maybe, like you said, there was a spark with Kuminga. Maybe this is I'm trying to be an optimist. Maybe this is a silver lining. He might step up and give him some minutes. But I definitely don't think the series is over. And I think we still have a good chance, and it's just everyone's going to have to really rally. So love to hear your thoughts, JD.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to have to be a lot of what we saw from this team in this game in game one after Steph went out. It's got to be a lot of Buddy. I'm with you. It's got to be a heavier dose of Jimmy, like really looking to score. I think it's going to have to be Draymond looking to score, which he's done the last couple of games, and he's been shooting it well. Again, we'll see on Kuminga. I do think that shift was the best shift he'd had since Game 3 against the Rockets, when he had that little third quarter shift where he had a couple of buckets. So we'll see on that front. Podziemski's got to get going, and really Moody is really hurting him right now. If they could get anything out of Moody, I mean, Moody only 9 minutes in this game, and his shot is lost. He's unconfident. He was a -14. Getting something from Moses Moody in terms of the ability to hit some open shots, I think is also going to be important. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. More thoughts on that coming up, but we do want to take our first time out here as we get closer to the 10 o'clock hour. We'll get to Kyle's clicks. Greg Silver's going to stop by at some point here in the next few minutes. We'll figure out exactly the time, whether it's this segment or the next segment. Kyle's clicks, we'll dive into the YouTube chat. We do have time for some calls as well at 808 KNBR 415-808-5627 as the Warriors win Game 1, but they lose Steph Curry to a left hamstring strain, and we're talking about it. It's the best Dubs coverage in the Bay. It's Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader.
live from downtown.
Curry, way downtown. Bang!
This is Dubs OT with John Dickinson on the Sports Leader, streaming live at KNBR.com and on the KNBR app.
Out to Butler with Dickinson on it. Oh my goodness, he fires it off the glass, trying to draw a foul. Didn't get the whistle, but knocks in a prayer.
Warriors win 99-88 in Minnesota, game 1, round 2 of the NBA playoffs. But Stephen Curry leaving the game after 13 minutes with a left hamstring strain. Back here on Dubs OT with JD, Kyle Haar in our San Francisco studios. Best YouTube chat in sports, off and rolling. And as we get into the 10 o'clock hour back in the Bay, let's bring in our guy Greg Silver, of course, of Papa and Silver, 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. here on the Sports Leader. Greg, mixed bag tonight. Great win for the Warriors, and we were talking about it in the opening segment. It felt to me like the game itself was just an extension of Game 7 in Houston, and the rest versus rust debate, at least for tonight, was settled. The Warriors were in rhythm, and I thought did a lot of the things that they did really well on Sunday in Houston. Again here, they're going to be the tireder team as it goes on. That's just a given. If this series continues 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, however long it winds up going. But the Warriors, I think being on that every other day plan here of late, tonight benefited them because the Timberwolves looked like a team that had lost all of the momentum that they built up from that Lakers series.
Yeah, on the old rest versus rust, I mean, this is where advantage Warriors for the Game 7 that they had, because it wasn't one of those where, yes, it took everything they had and it took really disciplined basketball, but they came into this one also with really good habits built up from the previous couple days. And every game's a little bit different. Every series is a little bit different, and a lot of it is very matchup dependent. But for them to just be mentally sharp, even if they were a little bit physically fatigued, that showed very much so in the first quarter. And I was laughing with just how up and down that was, and maybe some of the turnovers and missed shots and everything. And what was it, 18-20 after the first quarter? And I'm thinking, this is so much faster than the entire Rockets series was, but the score is going to look exactly like what we just saw for 7 games through the first 12 minutes. That one, very interesting night all around, and I know you've been getting into it here on the first chunk of the show, but it became one that they really had to go and get, with the combination of the fact that, of course, Steph Curry left and is probably not going to be playing Game 2, and possibly beyond that. We will see and be monitoring that story super closely. But the other part of it was the fact that Minnesota was not shooting the ball well at all, and the Warriors were able to build up a lead even with Steph being off the floor in that latter part there of the first half, and then, of course, the whole second half. And so with the way they were able to build up the lead and the combination of Minnesota just not having anything offensively, you cannot expect that from your Minnesota Timberwolves, and Anthony Edwards to start 0 for 10 going into that next game as well. So Naz Reid did a little bit of his catch fire in the fourth quarter thing, but all in all, it was a combination of solid defense by the Warriors, and Kevon Looney was a big part of that. Draymond Green, of course, the engine that drives it all, but really it was taking advantage of getting offense from other pieces in Steph Curry, because you're never going to make up for what he brings to the table in just one piece.
Excellent defense tonight for the Warriors in this game, and I thought the one thing that really stood out to me, Greg, early in the game was the fact that the Warriors were just so much more comfortable running their offense. This is before Steph went out. So much more comfortable running their offense against the Timberwolves, who are a good defensive team, but do not have the number of athletes that the Rockets have. And the Rockets with fewer areas to attack defensively as well. For as good as the Timberwolves are, and again, the Timberwolves on paper didn't see it tonight, but definitely are a much better offensive team than the Rockets. Obviously, Anthony Edwards is not going to play that badly again. I wholeheartedly agree with you there. But the Warriors were so much more comfortable with the split action and the cutting and the ball movement, it just, they were able to get, I thought, really good looks throughout the night. Even after Steph went out of the game, it definitely when Steph was in the game, but even when Steph went out of the game, it felt like the Warriors were still getting good looks. It just, there were times where nobody could hit them, and that, if that doesn't happen, they're going to be in big trouble regardless. But I think that was one thing that I bookmarked that I kind of thought would happen coming off the Rocket series, and even mentioned it a couple of different times once the Warriors got up with the third win in the Rocket series, that a matchup with the Timberwolves, it wouldn't feel as strained offensively. Now, obviously, if Steph's going to be out, it's a complete game changer. But the Warriors looked like there was a little bit of relief that they didn't have Amen Thompson and Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green and all those guys flying around after him, and Adams and Şengün. The Warriors were able to rebound better in this game tonight as well.
The differences and similarities and kind of just general distinctions between the Rockets and the Timberwolves fascinate me so much. And I know we talked on KNBR when you joined us around 1:30 today, and I said I saw that video you posted about asking Steph how much could be taken from those 4 regular season matchups against Minnesota, and he's like, not much at all, considering the fact that Jimmy Butler wasn't a part of the team. The Warriors weren't who they now are. Oh, and on top of that, Steph is probably going to be missing at least a game moving forward too. So everything changes, and this is sort of the nature of the playoffs. But the 2 big lineup was a problem for the Warriors in that Rockets series. The Steven Adams, Şengün, and at times Jabari Smith, to make it really 3 of them. That was something the Warriors really struggled with. And against the Timberwolves in the regular season, Steph actually had a lot of success against the 2 big lineup, and Gobert could be played off the floor at times. And Jason Timp from The Volume, I was watching some of his stuff and listening to some of the breakdowns he does, because it's always really insightful to hear his thoughts on that. And so in that sense, it is very different with Minnesota, and that sometimes going double big can be a bit of a problem for the Timberwolves going against the Warriors offense. Now, Rudy Gobert certainly was taking advantage on the offensive glass. He started getting it going, as did the rest of the Wolves offense there in that second half. But Rudy Gobert, we've seen it. He is a 4-time defensive player of the year. I'm not calling him a bad player by any means, but it's been more than just a couple of times that teams have been able to take advantage of his presence, and he's gotten played off the floor in a postseason series. So I wouldn't take that off the table for the Warriors, but would they do that without Steph Curry? That's a little bit more TBD.
Yeah, that's big time TBD. Greg Silver joining me here. It's Dubs OT with JD and Greg Silver tonight with Kyle Haar as well. Warriors win at Minnesota, game 1, round 2, 99-88. But Steph Curry, left hamstring strain, MRI coming here for Steph. And Anthony Slater of The Athletic will pass along this note from downstairs at Target Center. Pretty noticeable limp from Steph Curry out of the arena on his left leg. He will wait to talk to reporters until after the MRI results on his strained hamstring. And anytime there's a player who sustains an injury, they are not required to meet with the media on that night, and are only required to meet with the media one time over the duration of the time they sustain the injury and when they come back. So it can be right after the injury. It can be right before the player comes back from the injury, however long that takes. But Steph going to not speak to it until he knows for sure, and the Warriors know for sure, we all know for sure, the extent of the injuries. That I think is a nice segue. And by the way, 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Still time to get some calls in. We'll get to Kyle's clicks coming up here after Greg, maybe even mix a couple. And showroom text line is open as well, with the Warriors taking the series lead here 1-0. Let's get to the Steph injury. It was apparent immediately that he knew it wasn't good, and he asked to come out of the game, which is something you never see Steph Curry do. I can't remember the last time that even happened, where he immediately just said, I can't go. It was pretty clear immediately that it was a hamstring. I mean, anybody that's run or played soccer or basketball or whatever, like any kind of running sport, you know what that feeling is immediately. And we were just your initial thoughts on that, Greg. And I also just wanted to lay out the pathway moving forward here without Steph. I know they didn't officially rule him out for Thursday. He's not playing Thursday. I mean, that we know. I think even without having it be official, I don't see how he's going to be able to play Saturday either, to be perfectly honest. I feel like the absolute earliest would be game 4, which is 6 days away. It basically would be 5 days of rest. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 5 days of rest. But how often do you see after an MRI, and again, playoffs are different than regular season, an MRI on a Wednesday morning, let's say early in Minneapolis, an MRI then and there, how often do you see the results and it's, all right, this is the grade hamstring strain. Maybe the Warriors reveal that, maybe they don't. At a minimum, reevaluate it in a week. Like even if it's a low grade, and again, that's regular season, not necessarily playoffs, but reevaluated in a week would mean out game 2, out game 3, out game 4, probably out game 5, because game 5 is a week from tomorrow back in Minneapolis. So again, I don't want to get carried away. I think there's no shot game 2. I think there's almost no shot game 3. I think there's a teeny shot game 4. Feels like 4-5 at the absolute luck out on the MRI. I guess what I'm getting at is, Greg, what's the pathway in your mind to the Warriors being able to survive until Steph can come back? Because I feel like the most, again, you've got the Valkyrie gap, right? Where you get to game 5. To me, I guess it's as simple as get to game 5 get through game 5 and you're up, or you're in a 3-2 series. You're still alive, basically. You're alive after 5, and Steph can come back for game 6 12 days from today, which is, that's all right, 2 weeks. If it's a lower grade strain, that feels at least like it could happen. Maybe like it just, although maybe not a guarantee. So I kind of feel like that's, if you're a Warrior fan right now, you got to be thinking, get one of the next 3 before it comes back to game 5 in Minnesota. And then you get the 3-day break and you kind of take your chances from there. What do you think of all of that?
Initial reaction on the injury, I was kind of surprised at how long he was playing through it when he first grabbed it. He actually made that little floater where he got the soft touch on the rim, then was trying to move on defense.
He asked to come out immediately, though, and he did ask to come out immediately and then played through it for a play. Like, he was always coming out. I just think the ball ended up in his hands. It's funny, Draymond didn't even realize what was wrong. Like, Draymond was fired up. There was a timeout, and Draymond was just fired up like, hey, we're kicking their ass, and like didn't realize what had happened. And Steph was kind of like, yo, dude, like, I'm hurt. Like I had to like kind of tell him, and then it kind of went from there. But yeah, he did immediately put his hand up to come out.
I think for a moment you're hoping that he's being cautious and maybe he's just cramping, but then I know you and everyone out in Minneapolis saw Mike Dunleavy come out of the tunnel after Steph was in the locker room, say something to Draymond, nods his head, and then through the TV broadcast pretty quickly after that, we're told that Steph Curry was not going to return in this one. So then at that point you're thinking, okay, he's not going to be playing game 2, probably not going to be playing game 3 either. And I would say that the initial thought is, and I'll say this before we talk about the Valkyrie gap that you bring up. I think if you can win one of these next 3 without Steph, and you could be at a 2-2, then you get into a best of 3. And if there's a way for Steph to come back and be somewhat of himself, yes, you'd have to win one on the road. They can do it. They've done it in every playoff series with this core, -1 time in 2023 against the Lakers. Not ideal situation, but this is the playoffs, and you got to fight through different things. And I mean, this is different than the Jimmy Butler injury, and it's more discouraging than the Jimmy Butler injury in the sense that Jimmy's showed no structural damage, and not to say that he wasn't impacted by it, but you knew that it was a matter of pain tolerance and just continuing to play through it. And he has. I'm not saying Jimmy is not really feeling it out there, but with Steph and a hamstring's not a matter of pain tolerance. That's a matter of, if this was the regular season, we'd probably be talking a couple of weeks, lots of rest. This is a training staff that tends to be kind of cautious. You don't really get that luxury right now in the playoffs. So look, if Steph can't make it back until post-Valkyrie gap, then the goal, of course, is to stay alive. If you can win 2 without Steph, then power to you. But if you just win 1 and you're down 3-2 and you got to win 1 on the road and 1 at home without Steph, and that's the situation that ends up being the case because this is the playoffs and people get injured and that's how the cards shake out, then so be it. I think the goal is just you got to find a way to stay alive, plain and simple.
Yeah, and I wouldn't love the Warriors' chances if it got to 3-1 coming back to Minneapolis for Game 5 and Steph couldn't play. Like, I think that's the one you kind of throw away as you don't want to be in that position at all. And so I think then you shorten it up and basically say, can you get one of the next 3? Can you will the building be tight in Minneapolis on Thursday? The Timberwolves tend to get off to some pretty horrific starts. They also tend to be a team that plays down to the competition. Obviously, they know, Steph or no Steph, that their season is basically on the line on Thursday. Although, again, maybe there's the mentality of, we're going to win this series no matter what happens if you're now, because, especially depending upon what the news is tomorrow for Steph. Like I
disagree with that, though. If Steph is set to miss a couple of games and maybe 3 games, I don't think that the season is on the line on Thursday, because you could absolutely go into Chase where the Warriors have underperformed and they just did it the last time in the building and make that 2-2 easily.
It's interesting. Well, that may be if the Timberwolves have that mentality, then that's great for the Warriors. And if you watch the Timberwolves, and again, I think you saw it a little bit tonight. I don't think tonight was overconfidence, but they just have a tendency, when you least expect it, to just be terrible. And I mean, the Warriors, I think, made them terrible tonight in a lot of ways. I think, missing layups, taking bad shots, turnovers. I mean, the Timberwolves do have that game in them a lot. And in the regular season, they are the kind of team that'll be, playing Washington on a Tuesday in January and nobody's paying attention. And you look up, just kind of scanning the scores, and they're down 42-19. And you're like, what the hell's going on? And then they, sometimes they come back and they win that game. But there were a lot of times, I think the Pelicans beat them a couple of times this year in that exact kind of situation. So the Timberwolves are a weirdly fragile team, for as much as they, against some of these big time stars the last 2 years in the playoffs, have not looked like a weirdly fragile team. They've actually looked like a very strong and confident and excellent team. I think the Warriors definitely should not, even without Steph, go into Thursday thinking that it's a punt game, thinking it's it's go try to get it. And if you get it, then you're cooking. Like, then you're in really good shape at that point. And again, I always say this: when the road team wins the first game of a series, and the Warriors have now done it in consecutive series here to begin the playoffs, it just makes the next 3 games all the more interesting. Because even if the Timberwolves win game 2, the Warriors are going to be back at Chase with or without Steph, with a chance to win 1 home game to take the lead in the series. Even if they were to lose game 3, you've got the 1 home game at that point, down 2-1, to even it. And if you even it, you're getting closer to Steph potentially coming back, and then you're going back to Minnesota. So the next 3 games for the Warriors are, it's massive, and they're not dead. They gave themselves a chance to win this series by winning tonight. If they had lost this game, given the way things look with Steph, it would feel, especially if they had blown a 23-point lead, which, let's be honest, the Warriors have blown so many leads that when it gets down to 9, you're thinking, oh my God, this is all bad. Or 8, I think it got to 8. They pushed it back up to 14, then it got down to 9. But you're thinking, because you've seen the Warriors lose so many of these leads, you really are thinking they could blow the lead. And the Timberwolves start to get into a rhythm. And if the Warriors had lost the game in that way, plus the Steph injury, we're basically doing a Warrior funeral show tonight at 0-1 in this series because you don't know when Steph's going to come back.
Yeah, this one quickly became a gotta have it. And not only did you end up stealing one on the road, we're not even talking about what a great way to set the tone in this series and respond like that after just playing a game 7. And now all you got to do is take care of business at home because the Steph injury just completely wipes the board clean and all bets are off now. So it was a gotta have it for the sake of having a little bit of a pulse. You don't know what you're going to get as far as Steph's timeline. And that's not to say that the Warriors can't compete. They've won a game without Jimmy now. They just won one mostly without Steph, minus 13 minutes. And he did put in 13 points. So his contributions were certainly felt when they were trying to protect that lead. But by and large, that was a big one for them to get. And it's nice to see on the screen behind me right now, Jimmy and Buddy sharing the podium together right now.
Yeah, and we'll get into sounds of Dubs OT. The Draymond with a great quote, and he's into the Batman and Robin theme now. So we'll save the quote. I know it's been kind of making the rounds. We'll save the audio for sounds at Dubs OT. But even Draymond's into the Batman and Robin and Alfred thing here as the Warriors get the win in game 1. How do the Warriors get a win? I think these two go hand in hand. How do the Warriors get a win without Steph? But I also think some of the answers are in the way this game played out, and it's a nice way to kind of get to just, Buddy Hield, incredible. He starts off guarding Anthony Edwards, number one. He can't make a layup to save his life, but then he's stroking threes. He's getting rebounds. And he just, somebody had to step up and hit some shots, and the Warriors are so void of shooting, even when they have Steph, and Steph was starting to get it going right at the point where he got injured. But Buddy kind of carried it there and allowed for them to get off to the lead. But, Jimmy Butler's Jimmy Butler. He didn't shoot it well, but he did everything. 20, 11, and 8. That's with 2 steals. Jimmy was a freaking monster. Draymond hitting threes tonight. I thought Peyton and Looney were, the unsung heroes for the Warriors off the bench, and Pat Spencer is another one that I think every time Pat Spencer's been asked to play, he's been ready to play, and tonight no different. And if they're going to be without Steph, Pat Spencer's going to play. Kuminga was the extra body in the first half. I don't think he was planned to be in the rotation, but all right, let's get somebody in there. Let's get somebody in there to close the half. And so Kuminga got that nod.
And Guy didn't play in the second half either, did he?
No, and Guy was not good tonight. And look, Kuminga, we talked about, Kuminga was pretty bad in the first half again. But he had a couple of plays. I thought his third quarter shift was similar to the third quarter shift he had against the Rockets in game 3, where he did make a couple of plays that he missed a couple shots later. But it was the first time it wasn't a complete disaster since that game. And I feel like every shift has basically been that. But Kuminga was the guy that got the extra body minutes. Brilliant both halves. But Pat Spencer, if you're going to continue without Steph, Pat Spencer's going to play 4 to 10 minutes, I think, 4 or 5 minutes in each half. Pat Spencer's going to have to play here because you have to have a backup point guard, and he's the next man up in terms of just having another ball handler.
That's exactly it. Every time somebody asks about Pat Spencer and why he'll get minutes, it's because, he's third on the pecking order of primary ball handlers. You got Steph, you got Podziemski, who also starts, by the way. So Podziemski's your starting shooting guard and your backup point guard all in one. Your next best option. And when Steph Curry or Podziemski isn't available, you go to Pat Spencer. That's why you saw him in the Rockets series when Podziemski had the food poisoning. That's why you saw him, I guess the other time was just the contributions when they punted on game 5, and he had the lone ejection of the series, getting into it with Şengün. But tonight they really needed him, and it's kind of the opposite of Jonathan Kuminga in that you don't really think it's going to pass the eye test, and then you're watching him play, and you said it best, I think. Every time they've needed him to play, he's been ready in this postseason. And yes, game 5 of the Rockets series was not high-stakes minutes, but the other 2, they were.
No, they definitely were, and again, they're going to need more from Pat Spencer, I think, moving forward here to be able to find that one win in the next 3 games, 2, 3, and 4, if they're going to have to play those games without Stephen Curry. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. Dubs OT with JD and Greg. Greg, we'll let you go on that note. I'll give you a chance for a final thought here. We'll get to some Kyle's clicks. I got to burn another timeout. One quick one here, just the Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line, 650. JD, do you think it's a good sign Steph continued to play after the injury? I know we were kind of talking about that. No, I don't think it comes into play here. I think the ball just kind of found him, and so he did the best he could to not make it worse. The problem with the hamstring is it really is rest, and even if it's a lower grade hamstring, you don't want to you come back too soon, and often you see players come back a little too soon on the hamstring, and you just pull it, and if you pull it, it's over. Like you pull it, it's a month or 6 weeks or longer, and at that point, you're talking about the whole rest of the playoffs, or pretty much, pretty close to the whole rest of the playoffs with the conference finals and finals beyond this series. So you do have to be extreme. It's just not something you can just. It's not. You said it. It's not a pain tolerance thing, but it's the kind of injury you really can't play professional sports on, and half-ass it to where you're going to keep it safe. Like you just can't do that.
Well, and also Steph Curry is the most mobile player off of the ball that we've ever seen in this era of basketball. And so I'm not trying to take a shot at any other Warrior, but just say somebody who plays a little bit more like a Kevon Looney, who was fantastic tonight. And I love Loon, but if he was dealing with a little bit of hamstring tightness, that's a little bit of a different story than if Steph Curry or Buddy Hield or someone who is constantly running up and down the floor is dealing with hamstring tightness. That adds up so quick, and all it takes is one little turn, one little burst of speed, one day coming back too soon for the problem to just prolong itself.
Greg, have a great night. Let everybody know what's coming up tomorrow on the show. I know the Giants are playing. It's an afternoon game, so it's basically some diamond notes, and then you might get an hour after the game if it goes quick at Wrigley.
Yeah, it's going to be 10:20 a.m. is when Giants pregame is going to start. So Greg Papa and I get 20 minutes. I think all I'm going to have to do is say good morning, and it'll be time for Giants pregame. So we'll be set there and then watch the Giants game, just chill at home and see if the Cubs end up making it 2 out of 3. I actually got to go back and really watch tonight because it was going on during this game, and I knew I was coming on the show. A 14-5 extra innings wasn't on the bingo card for me today, but so it goes, and sometimes that's baseball. And other than that, just keep monitoring the storylines, take notes, and keep that grind going.
Yeah, they had the lead. Verlander was going to get a win. Ryan Walker shaky again. They didn't score in the first extra inning. They probably should have got beat in the bottom of the 10th, and then they just explode in the top of the 11th to win. That's my there's my Cliff Notes version, because I do have that ability, that unique ability to be at one game and keep an eye on another one. Sicko status revealed. That's all you need to get through tomorrow, Greg. That just write that down and you're good to go for tomorrow. And Elliot Ramos called it the best game he's ever played in.
Wow.
He called, which I like, damn, he had that's telling of the 2024 Giants. I'll tell you that.
I mean, he just had a walk-off Little League home run the other week. So that's telling for sure. I got to go back and watch the full thing and give it its justice.
All right, Greg. Thanks, man. We'll talk to you after the game on Thursday night. Really appreciate it. And Greg's going to join me from Harmonic in Thrive City as well on Saturday for Dubs OT as we get back for Game 3. So looking forward to that. Have a great night, man.
Thanks, JD. Thanks, Kyle. And best chat in the Bay.
Yep, best chat in the Bay. We're going to get to that chat. Long overdue, but first I got to burn a timeout. 808 KNBR, the number, 415-808-5627. If you want to call and talk to Overnight Dave and then get to Kyle Haar and then get to JD, we can do that. But Kyle's Clicks is coming up next. We're going to keep this thing going for about another hour. Kyle's Clicks next, and then we're going to do Sounds of Dubs OT and fun with numbers. We'll get everybody the latest on what's going on with Steph Curry as well. Warriors win Game 1 at Minnesota, 99-88. We're talking about it right here on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Dub Nation, this is the real and inside story on Warriors basketball. Dubs OT with John Dickinson continues. Streaming live at twitch.tv/thesportsleader.
Butler finds Green, the hot hand, and he stays hot. Oh, Draymond Green delivering 1-3 after another. He's 4 for 5 from beyond the arc.
Yeah, Draymond, 4 for 5 at that point, and the Warriors needed all of them tonight. 18 points for Draymond. Draymond scoring in the last couple of games. And when Draymond scores, it was a great Draymond game all the way around. 18-8-6. Warriors win 99-88. Game 1, Western Semis in Minneapolis. 1-0 series advantage for the Dubs. But, yeah, he's been stroking it very comfortable from three-point range in this one. And the Warriors, they end up with the win, 99-88. We talked about the rebounding. Warriors, all those missed shots, and the T-Wolves 5 of 29 from three-point range. Anthony Edwards 1 for 5 in this one. Dante DiVincenzo, who's been blistering since he left the Warriors a couple years ago from three-point range. He was 1 for 7. Warrior fans know he has the tendency to be streaky. He might go 1 for 7 one game and 6 for 7 the next game. So I think a lot of folks on the Timberwolves side of it, 5 for 29. Was it nerves? Was it rust? I'm not sure, but the Timberwolves, I think, when you look at it, you have to anticipate that they're going to perform at a much higher level coming out for Game 2, which is going to be played on Thursday night. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627, Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line as well. One quick one before we get to Kyle's Clicks, and we got a special edition of Sounds of Dubs OT coming up at the top of the 11 o'clock hour. Jimmy Butler and Buddy Hield, Batman and Robin, at the podium together inside Target Center tonight. You're not going to want to miss what those two had to say, plus Draymond Green, plus Steve Kerr, following a big Warriors victory in Game 1, and, of course, the latest on what's going on with Steph Curry. As Ian J. said, cross your fingers for the MRI. Already the Warriors saying it's a hamstring strain. We'll learn more about the severity and how much time Steph will potentially miss coming up tomorrow on the off day, with the Warriors playing tonight and Thursday in Minneapolis. All right, let's get to Kyle's Clicks. We're long overdue, well into the show here. Joke's on you, JD. Another Kerr masterclass. Butler looked gassed. Kuminga has to start for Steph. And Looney plays this series, which is in our favor. I don't think Kuminga is going to start, but I do think Kuminga is going to now play, and I think Kuminga's only pathway to getting another opportunity was going to be an injury. But I mean, this definitely applies, and so if I had to guess, they go GP2, and it's Pods GP2 Buddy or Pods Buddy GP2, Jimmy and Draymond. If I had to guess, I think GP2 gets the start. Kuminga has to play now, most likely. I mean, Kerr had him at the ready, and Pat Spencer's going to play. So those would be the two. I think Kuminga's going to get. It's not going to be a ton of minutes unless he really plays well. But I think you look at tonight. What did Steve do start of the third quarter when Steph was out and it was GP? So I think that becomes the starting lineup. Steph out, so it's Pajemski, it's GP, it's Hield, and then it's Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green. Looney's going to play. I think Quentin Post will get some time. He didn't in the second half. He did in the first half and played well in the first half to buy some time. Didn't take a shot, didn't do anything to screw anything up. He was out there for that big run. So I think he could be out there as well. Continuing on here in the chat, lots of chats, basically all chats here for the next 15 minutes. Long overdue. Gene McIntyre, our buddy Gene, who we talked to in Houston a couple of times. Buddy got you one win tonight. Kuminga get one. Jimmy Butler get one. Steph come back at Game 6. Again, I don't think Kuminga's getting you a win. He's gonna play. Kuminga's not getting you a win. He's shown nothing to think he's gonna get you a win, Gene. I love you, man, but it just can Kuminga come in and play more like he did in that third quarter stretch tonight than every other stretch that he's played for the last month? That's again, it's always baby steps. Kuminga ain't getting you a win, and nobody should be thinking of it that way. It's, can he play 8 good minutes, 4 in each half, to help others get some rest? Can he play 15, 16 minutes and just not screw it up? That's what you're hoping. And if he can get 8 to 10 points, then all the better. But I don't. He's not going to be playing that much with Steph out to be able to make that level of an impact. Uncle Chef 30. Warriors can hold down the fort with defense. If Curry is back by game 3 or 4, we're fine. I'm going to say it again. Houston was the most physical team the Warriors are going to face the entire playoffs. That last part I completely agree with. And again, playing against some of these other teams offensively for the Warriors, I think, is kind of a picnic by comparison with the athleticism and physicality. It's just unfortunate now. And by the way, I haven't said this. How great did Steph look at the point in which he was injured? Steph was really starting to cook. He was getting to the basket. I think he was 3 for 6 from 3 at 13 points. Steph looked like he was on his way to 35 tonight, an easy 35. And the Warriors were going to cruise in this game. It got a little dicey at times in the second half after the Warriors built the lead up to 23, but it really felt like Steph was on for a major night. And again, I think you look at the way the game played out, maybe the Warriors end up winning this game even more on cruise control, which definitely puts them in position to have more in the tank for Thursday. Good one there from Uncle Chef. Andis Brown, did Finch wait until the third quarter to tell his team to attack the basket? It definitely appeared that way. I think, a lot of settling for jumpers early. And I'll paraphrase what Steve Kerr said, and we'll play this for you likely coming up here in Sounds of Dubs OT. But Kerr had said he thought the Warriors really contested well early on the jumpers. I think Minnesota settled for some jumpers, Andis, but they missed some early. And when you miss some early, you because you're out of rhythm, because the defense is good, as you get more open shots as the game goes on, then you miss those shots. And I think it was that domino effect in play that impacted the what the Timberwolves didn't have going and what the Warriors basically made them not have going. Erwin Kwong, great to hear from you. Erwin, Timberwolves just as big as the Rockets, but yet they got out rebounded by the Warriors. Yeah, they're big, but they're not quite as athletic. They're not quite as physical. They are similar yet very different. I feel like as well. But yeah, the Warriors just match up better. I didn't know how it was going to look with the Jimmy Butler component, as it related to pre-trade and post-trade. The Warriors have obviously been a better team, but I thought the Dubs had a chance to be in a little bit of trouble if they didn't end up. I thought they had a chance to be in a little bit of trouble against this team if they weren't going to be stout defensively, but they just don't hit you in the same ways that make you vulnerable as consistently as say the Rockets do. 808 KNBR, I do know we got a call. We'll sneak in a call here in just a minute, but let's keep it rolling. I promise chats. We're going chat. Breathe Well, one of our newbies here in the chat. T-Wolves surprisingly soft on the glass in crunch time. The Timberwolves have a tendency to just not, they make some silly mistakes. They take some wild shots. They can't finish. They get beat on cuts. They're a step. I thought the Timberwolves were a step slow tonight. I thought the Warriors' aggression and attacking the boards and I thought the Warriors out-hustled the Timberwolves. The Warriors at times got out-hustled by the Rockets. I thought the Warriors out-hustled the Timberwolves in a big way in this game tonight, and it's what allowed them to build the big lead and ultimately be comfortable enough to withstand the runs even without Steph Curry in the second half of this one and put it away and win by 11. Good comment. Breathe well. Appreciate you. Matt A. Buddy came to play. So happy his shot is falling. Started the season hot and starting the playoffs hot. And it's price of admission right now. If you're going to have to play a game 2, 3, 4 without Steph, whatever it winds up being, lack shooting even when you have Steph. So Buddy's going to have to knock down some shots, and they got to get Moody going, and Pajemski's got to knock down some shots too, because you can't count on Draymond going 4 for 5, even though he ended up 4 for 10 with regularity. Next one up in the chat is going to be Darren Brazil. Pods needs to find his shot, or he needs to pass the ball right back to Butler when Butler keeps passing Pods the ball. I thought one of the big shots tonight and big stretches as the lead was cut to 86-76. Buddy hit a 3, and Jimmy hit the pull-up jumper to make it 90-76. But it's also the 3 that Peyton hit after the Timberwolves again cut it down to 9, 90-81. It's the classic. Jimmy Butler loves that play where he gets the drive, he stops, he's got his eye on the corner, and he allows the defender to just come up enough to where he can wing that pass to the corner. And Kuminga hit one of those tonight, but the one that GP hit, I think, ended the night for good for the Timberwolves to make it 93-81. And those are the ones, like, if Moody can hit that, Pods can hit that, Kuminga can hit that, Jimmy can set that shot up for anybody almost at all times. But yeah, I think the Warriors are, even though maybe they don't want to be, and Jimmy Butler looked gassed tonight. I agree with everybody who said that. They're going to have to be, without Steph Curry, more Jimmy Butler dependent as this series goes on. And I do think he's going to have to look to be more aggressive. I know he doesn't always want to, doesn't always like the questions about it, but I think Jimmy's going to have to figure out a way to try and will them to one of these next 2-3 games if Steph's going to be out. And that means looking to score. This is a demoralizing loss for the Wolves. To lose badly to a Curry-less Warriors team is embarrassing. Well, they were already on their way when Curry was still in the game. So I think that does take some of it off. I mean, it is, when you're playing as badly as the Timberwolves were, it's hard to just, Curry's out, now you're going to dominate the game when you're down double digits at that point, and then it gets to 23. And I actually thought at that point the Warriors were winning the game tonight. It just, the Timberwolves were that bad, and the Warriors were making them bad enough. I don't disagree, though, that it's not demoralizing. I think it is the way the Warriors were able to play. All right, let's get one more of this segment, and we'll get some more coming up later on. Gisak, I have a feeling the Warriors steal game 2 as well. There's something about being hyper-focused when your best player goes down. The focus becomes more locked in. We'll see. There's always the force of the team that loses game 1 to know that their season is on the line. And Greg Silver disagreed with me. He thought, hey, the Timberwolves would believe even if they lose game 2 that they can come to chase if Steph's not going to be playing and win game 3, win game 4, get it back. But there's just something about this matchup. I didn't know how much it was going to play with the new look Warriors, because their entire season series against the Timberwolves was pre-Jimmy trade. I think the Warriors just match up. They just match up well with the Wolves, flat out. And they're confident against them. They're 3-0 at Target Center this season. They've won 3 games at Target Center this season. Ironically enough, they won 4 games at Houston in between the regular season, where they took 2 of 3, and then they won 2 of the 4 in the first round. So they got 4 Houston wins. They got 3 Minnesota wins. They've got their most wins on the road, this year against those teams that they're playing now in the playoffs. And they were getting it done even in the regular season. So I don't know about the Warriors might be gassed. And if Steph can't play, it might be a game where that game has a tendency to maybe get a little bit like Game 5 against Houston, where you don't need it. Although, again, I think that is mitigated somewhat by the fact that the Warriors need to find a way to get one of the next 3 if Steph, in fact, is going to be out. All right, let's sneak in a call here. Eric in San Francisco on Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. What's going on, Eric?
Hey, what's going on, JD? Big win tonight. I mean, when Steph went out and they ruled him out, you're like, uh-oh. Like, if they lose this game, it's pretty much like, because he's not playing Thursday. There's just no chance on that. And probably he's not playing Saturday. I mean, basically my thoughts are that, our defense has been lights out the last 2 games. And, I know that the Wolves went, an unconscionable 0 for 16, but I think a lot of that was us, chasing them around and forcing them into contested threes or uncomfortable threes. So I think our key is playoff Jimmy, which is why we got him, and just solid defense. We're just going to have to grind it out on D. And I think Draymond has something on Gobert where Gobert, he'll get his occasional dunks and he'll get his rebounds, but he gets played off the floor enough. And if Naz Reid kills us every time, and if we can find a way to keep Naz Reid from killing us, then their scoring options really are Ant then at that point, because DiVincenzo is hot and cold. So is Jaden McDaniels. Their bench is not like a scoring bench. And I agree with you that Houston made us much more uncomfortable in running our offense. And it seems like Buddy started off the year he looked like he was going to be a shoo-in for 6th man of the year. And if he's got his confidence going and he can give us some spacing and Jimmy can give us just one 30-point game and we can get it 2-2. And even if we go down 3-2 and it's 12 days and we come back to chase and we're down 3-2 and Steph's able to come back in, 12 days, anything can happen in the series is the way I look at it. And we've proven that we can win a Game 7 on the road. I mean, we've got the championship DNA,
and they've proven they can win at Target Center 3 times this year. So I think that part is also in play.
I really don't think stealing Game 2 is out of the question because the pressure is on the Timberwolves at this point because it's the yin yang of being the home team to start the series, right? Because especially if you lose Game 1, I mean, look what happened in the Pacers-Cavs game tonight, right?
Sure.
Couldn't
finish it. Yeah.
Cavs are killing them. Then they make a stupid play at the end of the game. Halliburton hits a shot, and all of a sudden they're up 2-0. So, I mean, no one gave a chance to the Pacers, given that the Cavs won, 64 games during the regular season, were dominant home team. Now, granted, they've had some players injured, but I think the Warriors formula is just really Jimmy's got to get aggressive. He's got to go into scoring mode as opposed to, on some of those drives where he's kicking it out, he's got to look to take that mid-range jumper. And hopefully, I hearken back to the Bucks series where he was just hitting everything. And if he can do that with Max Strus and Gabe Vincent and Bam and whoever, Duncan Robinson, there's no reason, and especially Pods, I think Pods is the real X factor. If he can find his 3-ball, because he had a couple games at the end of the year where, he was 7 of 9. I think he had 8 threes in a different game. If he can just even give us a 4 for 8 and Buddy stays hot with Jimmy and some solid D, I mean, we could keep the series level at 2-2 and see what happens in 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, they've definitely gave themselves a chance tonight, Eric. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And now, yeah, you take your chances in game 2. I'm kind of with you. I have a weird feeling about the Timberwolves early in game 2. If the Warriors can get off to a start, Jimmy, the 135-point Jimmy game. I think Pods gave him the one game in the Rocket series to help him win. When Steph wasn't playing well, and they got Jimmy back. You had Jimmy do his thing or you had Steph do his thing in the game. Jimmy missed in game 3 with the monstrous game, and Buddy was helping in both of those games. So there is a way maybe to piece it together and get one. And I'm with you completely. If you can get it to where you're still alive in game 6 with a little bit of rest, and with Steph obviously being able to come back then at the latest, which would be 12 days, which I think that is on the table. I think, assuming this is a lower grade, anything before that, again, I'm with you. Like, I think game 2, game 3 are out. I think game 4 is probably out. I think game 5 is we'll see. But then there's the risk of, well, if would you play him in game 5 knowing that you've got 3 more days before game 6? And I think the answer to that, again, we got to wait for the MRI, but I think the answer to that is probably you'd want to wait, especially if the series is tied 2-2 at that point. So all great pieces of analysis and thoughts, Eric, and thanks for the call, man.
Thanks, man. Have a good night.
All right, appreciate it. Eric in San Francisco. 808 KNBR. Let's go ahead and take a timeout. We'll get more from the Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line and a final installment of Kyle's Clicks. But up next, it is the press conference, the stand-up duo sweeping the nation tonight of Batman and Robin, Robin and Alfred, Batman and Alfred, Jimmy and Buddy at the podium inside Target Center from earlier this evening. We'll give you the best of all of that, also some Draymond Green and some Steve Kerr. Our Sounds at Dubs OTs coming up next right here on the Sports Leader.
KNBR presents the sounds of Dubs OT.
I can see the headline now. Kerr says Warriors better without Curry.
No class, no balls.
I want to get my joy back. I'm happy here, off the court.
Now here's John Dickinson.
All right, welcome back. Warriors win 99-88. They have the 1-0 series advantage. It's Dubs OT with JD. Our sounds at Dubs OT. Appreciate Jacob Violante for helping put that together. Got Kyle Haar back in our San Francisco studios. Let's get to it, and we'll keep things going here until about 11:30 back in the Bay as the Warriors have the 1-0 series lead. Let's get it going here and start with Steve Kerr. And what did I do with my? Oh, there it is. All right, got it right here. Steve Kerr with what everybody needs to know, and that is the main headline: Steph Curry with the hamstring strain. And here's Steve Kerr with the latest, as everyone knew, post game.
Day to day, he'll get an MRI tomorrow. I talked to him at halftime. Just, he's obviously crushed, but the guys picked him up and played a great game. And obviously we're all, concerned about Steph, but it's part of the game. You just, guys get hurt and you move on. Our guys did a great job of moving on and getting a great win, 48 hours after a Game 7 road win. It's an amazing group of guys. These guys they compete, they're together. We've been the best defense in the league since the Jimmy trade, and that's what's keeping us afloat right now.
Yeah, the defense, without question, set the tone. Day to day, officially, again, although Steve did say later that they're working under the assumption that Steph's not going to play on Thursday. But again, maybe a little optimism there in Steve Kerr's voice to say day to day. Again, also could be potential gamesmanship to make the Timberwolves, at least for the next couple of days, believe that it is a less severe injury than is currently known. Obviously, they'll get the MRI, and that'll reveal the severity, and we'll see what the plan is in place. Always too early to truly know, unless it's just extremely bad. Exactly how long somebody's going to be out until the player goes through and has the MRI, but others definitely step it up in a major way for the Dubs to get this win. All right, here's another Steve Kerr. Our second one, we'll hear from Draymond, and then a couple of the Jimmy Buddy show from Target Center in Minneapolis. Here is Steve on Buddy Hield and everybody else finding a way to get the job done.
Buddy was following up that amazing Game 7. He was just crucial for us tonight. I think he started out the game 0 for 7, and we needed every one of his 24 points. With Steph out, we had very, very few options offensively, and the guys did a really good job of defending and they're trying to run off misses so we could get the offense going before they could set up their defense. Not that it was a great transition game for us. I mean, we only had 6 fast break points, but when you're defending like that, you always have a chance. And some guys hit some big shots. Buddy's 3, Gary's 3. Jimmy had a bucket in that stretch where they cut it to, I think, 8 or so. So we did what we had to do. Great defense and, just kind of hang on in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, and a lot of really good defense. And, timely buckets, timely stops, timely rebounds. We talked about the Warriors dominating the boards, but they really win this game tonight because of Buddy Hield's 24 and 5 3-point makes, Draymond's 4 3-point makes, a lot of those early, and then GP2 with a couple of big 3-point makes as well in his 26 minutes. And it kind of wound up being a 5. I mean, there were 5 guys that played more than 15 minutes or more in the game. It was Buddy with Jimmy, Draymond, Pods, and then Gary Payton II was the other. He ended up playing 26 minutes, and I think Steve added that everybody who played contributed in their own way in the short time they were out there, and I think you could make that case. Maybe Steve been a little nice there on the Guy Santos, Moses Moody front, but I do think everybody else, and those two played the least, had a net positive impact on the game. And you look at the plus minus totals in this one, and it says exactly that. It was Moody minus 14. It was Guy minus 3. Kuminga was actually even minus 9, but a lot of that was but did have that shift in the third quarter where he was much better than the other different points in the game. So that's Steve Kerr. From Steve Kerr, we move to Draymond, and even Draymond Green now is getting into the act as it relates to Batman and Robin. Steph, of course, Batman, Jimmy Butler, Robin, and let's hear a little bit of Draymond on that. I'm going out of order, Kyle. Let's hear the Draymond on Batman and Robin first.
I just saw him limping a bit. So I walked over to him, tell him good pass, and he was kind of walking towards the locker room. And I said, "You good?" He was like, "I'll be back." And he just kept it pushing. But we didn't really know what was going on for a while. Several minutes, game time minutes, which, is a lot longer than just minutes. We didn't know for a long time. And then they finally told us it was a hamstring. A little deflating, but we knew, he did a great job of helping us build a comfortable enough lead. And Robin turned into Batman, which y'all call Buddy?
Alfred.
Alfred turned into Robin. And they filled in. So it was beautiful to see.
Yeah, and they did. And again, Draymond getting into the act there as it relates to Batman and Robin. You're not going to want to miss what Jimmy and Buddy had to say about that. Coming up here in just a moment in terms of the sounds of Dubs OT. Apologies, Kyle. I went out of order on our little cut sheet here. Let's go ahead and hear the other Draymond, although I kind of feel like maybe we heard Draymond say some of this in this clip, but Draymond on just the whole process of learning about the Steph injury.
I didn't see what happened. I also didn't see that he had grabbed his hamstring. I just saw him limping a bit. So I walked over to him, tell him good pass, and he was kind of walking towards the locker room. I said, "You good?" He was like, "I'll be back." And he just kept it pushing. But we didn't really know what was going on for a while. Several minutes, game time minutes, which, is a lot longer than just minutes. We didn't know for a long time. And then they finally told us it was a hamstring. A little deflating, but we knew, he did a great job of helping us build a comfortable enough lead. And
yeah, so we heard that. We obviously heard both of those cuts fused together in the first Draymond clip there. There's no doubt it's deflating. And again, I think that's where tonight becomes so important that the Warriors were able to get the win, is because now there's still hope for this series. If you lose this game, and I think Draymond, what he said there is the tell. If you lose this game and then you lose Steph for a game or two even, I think the doubt starts to creep in as to whether or not you can win the series internally among the players. You win this game tonight and you do it largely without Steph, although Steph was really freaking good in his 13 minutes, really good. But you win the game without Steph playing his usual, and now you have the confidence that as long as Steph can come back at some point, as we've been talking about throughout the course of the show, that maybe you can get one more win without him and then get two more wins with him if he can come back quickly enough. So I think it keeps that competitive fire going for the Warriors to be able to pull off that win number two, and then you hope, obviously, that you can get them back as the series goes on. All right, continuing on here, it is Dubs OT with JD, Sounds of Dubs OT with Kyle Haar in our San Francisco studios. Warriors win 99-88 at Target Center in Minneapolis to take the 1-0 series advantage. These are the ones we've been waiting for here to hear from Jimmy Butler and from Buddy Hield, going back and forth, and they were basically running material at the podium at Target Center tonight, and they got into Batman and Robin and who's who on a night like tonight.
I'm Batman today. I saved the day. He's still Robin.
All right. Well, I'm still Robin, yes. And Steph's still Batman. And Buttered is still who he is.
I mean, Buttered.
So but you had another good game, man. Except for that stupid thing you did at the beginning of the game when you have on the right shorts. It's not real Robin and or Batman like.
Yeah, and we didn't talk about that, and we got another clip on that note as well about the shorts. But I mean, yeah, that is one that I've never seen. It has happened. It has happened, but I don't know that I've ever seen that in a game that I've been at or covered before. I think there have been versions of that, but yeah, Buddy didn't have the right shorts on. The Warriors realized he didn't have the right shorts on. They tried to sub him out of the game. They couldn't. They took too long to get the sub in. Gary Payton's going to come in for him. Gary Payton's like riding a bike out in the back in one of the tunnels. And so they take too long to get the sub in, and it winds up being a delay of game that could have been a technical, but Steve Kerr just decided to call timeout. So it was still a delay of game because they took too long, and then Steve was like, let's just call timeout, and we'll make everything work from there. Buddy runs to the tunnel, and you're wondering, did Buddy get hurt? Like, what's going on? Oh, he's got the wrong – and he quickly changes his shorts, gets the right shorts on, and he's right back out. I mean, only Buddy Hield. Only Buddy Hield. Seriously.
Very fitting that it's Buddy Hield. Like, who else?
Only Buddy Hield.
Who else would do that?
Especially after 2 days of basically being the biggest, most talked about player in the NBA, right, for what he did in a Game 7, right? And probably the most talked about player in the Warriors the last 48 hours, and everything that comes along with it. And he's got the wrong shorts on. I mean, but it's just incredible when you think about it. And only Buddy, and then not only does that happen, but he gets the right shorts on, comes back, and then helps the Warriors win shorthanded without Steph Curry in the Western semifinals. I mean, this is I didn't have any of these on the bingo card for Buddy Hield during his tenure as a Warrior. But the one thing that is true, like everybody does, and I say this a lot, everybody truly does love Buddy Hield. Like everybody on that team, in that locker room, he can be an incredibly frustrating player for all of the. I mean, that's not what happened tonight. It's unacceptable. I mean, that can't happen. That can't happen. It's silly, but it in a playoff game, nevertheless. I mean, and we're not even a minute into the game, and everybody's like, "What's going on here?" And so Buddy gets it squared away and helps the Warriors get the win in only the way that he can. All right, let's hear one more Jimmy talking about Buddy and Jimmy and Buddy going back and forth, blaming Jimmy. Buddy's blaming Jimmy here for wearing the wrong shorts. Let's hear this one.
Jimmy switched it out. It was Jimmy's fault. Okay. Jimmy switched it out, and that's what happens. I was looking for my shorts, and I thought it was the right one. He said, "Yo, put these on." It was right, and that was the.
That's what you're going with.
Yeah, I'm going with Jimmy. It was Jimmy's fault. His locker's next to my locker. I was looking for my shorts. He said, "Yo, why can't I find my shorts?" Oh, I see there. And I put them on, and it looked just alike. And after that, got a fine for it. So it's cool. It was Jimmy's fault. Blame Jimmy.
So there you go. Are we really blaming Jimmy? Are we really? I don't think we're really blaming Jimmy. But yeah, I mean those two have got a thing. I mean those two have definitely got a good thing going, and those are just a couple of the highlights. I mean they went on. How long did they go on? They were on it was close to 10 minutes, I think, with the two of them answering questions and different things. I mean, truly kind of an all-timer in terms of the press conference, back and forth and fun. And honestly, I think the banter that those two have and the back and forth, I think it's allowed. And look, Buddy's always relaxed, but sometimes I think he's kind of aloof. I think it's allowed Buddy to just, I think it's allowed him to play better. He's so free. Like he doesn't like he is pretty carefree normally, but I don't know. It feels like the tension of Buddy not maybe being as well liked because of some of the mistakes that he makes, I think has been eased by Jimmy Butler basically allowing for everyone to just kind of laugh at Buddy and Buddy to laugh at himself, and to not have it be so edgy and heavy, right? Like how many times all year after he got off to the great start would we talk about Buddy? And they were asking too much of Buddy, Kyle. They really were. They were asking too much of Buddy. He wasn't delivering. He's making a bunch of boneheaded plays in addition to not hitting shots after he got off to the incredible start. And Jimmy's kind of relaxed the vibe around Buddy and allowed for him to bounce back and start performing again at a much higher level. I don't know. It's just like Jimmy I said it the other night, like he's made Buddy more playable in a weird way. And it's allowed again for, I think, some of the angst that constantly surrounds Hield the player to just be lifted.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree with everything you said. And then you think back to, especially during that terrible stretch after going 12-3, man, there were a handful of times where Steph or Draymond would get into or yell at Buddy and get in his face, blaming him, telling him what to do, blaming him for his mistakes, calling him out on his mistake. But no, yeah, we're definitely getting a very relaxed Buddy now.
No, and again, I think that allows for him to be more confident and I think the weight of the poor play was wearing on Buddy over the middle part of the season. He got off to this great start. Everybody knew that wasn't the player that he regularly was going to be. But then you look at the Warriors team was not performing at the level that was expected after the 12-3 start, and they didn't have the secondary scorer, and he's also kind of filling the shoes of Klay Thompson, and it just snowballed to a point where, again, it was unfair to expect it, but he also was not playing well. And yet he's one of those guys, based on where he is on the roster, that's going to be playing every night because the Warriors are so void of shooting. And then he just became, I hate to say it, but he kind of became a hated player, like from the fan base. And Jimmy has just allowed for that to flip. He's allowed for that to change. And so it's really helped, I think, Buddy break through and come up with some more impactful and meaningful time on the court. So that'll do it for our Sounds of Dubs OT. The injury update on Steph. Again, MRI tomorrow. Steve Kerr talking about Buddy coming up huge along with everybody else. Draymond on Steph and when he went to the locker room. And then, of course, the Jimmy and Buddy show here on Sounds of Dubs OT as the Warriors get the win. All right, let's go ahead and do some fun with numbers before we call it a night here in the next few minutes.
This is Dubs OT with JD. Time now for fun.
I'm a fun guy.
With numbers.
No, I'm just having fun.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live on KNBR.com and the KNBR app.
All right, Warriors get the win, 99-88. We've been talking about it here. 1-0 lead as the number 7 seed Warriors over the number 6 seed, the old 6-7 matchup. Second time in 3 years the Warriors are in a 6-7 matchup in the second round. The Warriors were the 6 a couple of years ago against the Lakers. Warriors have won at least one road game in now 30 of 31 series. The only series the Warriors have not done that in the Steph Draymond era. Now, this even predated Steve Kerr. Went back to the 3 playoff series where Mark Jackson was the coach. The Warriors have won a road playoff game in each of those series, except for the one we just mentioned where they lost all 3 games down at Crypto.com Arena to the Lakers 2 years ago. Since 2015, the Warriors are 23-5 in game ones. 23-5 in game ones. Again, a lot of the time the Warriors are playing at home and we're heavy favorites. But I think the most impressive aspect of the wins in game one in this playoff is the fact that they have done both on the road. And I even go back to 2022. They didn't have home court advantage against Memphis. They get a road winning game. Like, winning game one on the road is tough. And for the Warriors to be able to do it now in both of these series with this team this season has been beyond impressive. Some regular season and playoff combined notes now. Warriors 48-5 when leading after 3 quarters, 4-0 in the playoffs. The Warriors win again, scoring under 100, which is something they did not do in the regular season. Often 4-14 were the Warriors when they didn't score 100. They're 2-1 in the playoffs. Now, when failing to score 100, the other win when the Warriors failed to score 100, game 1 against the Rockets, going back to the beginning of that series. The Warriors this season 16-1 when holding opponents under 100, and they've held opponents under 100 now between the Rockets and T-Wolves 4 times in 8 games. They've held the opponent under 100, 4-0 in those games, 6-0 when holding opponents under 100 in the season for the Warriors. 14-0 under 40% shooting, 3-0 in the playoffs. So the third time in 8 games the Warriors have held a team under 40% shooting, and 50 rebounds for the Dubs for the first time in the playoffs in 8 games, 18-4 when grabbing at least 50 rebounds. Also, an NBA note, and I thought this was a good one. First time in NBA history, all 4 road teams won game 1 of the conference semifinals in the same season, and Indiana won game 2 tonight on the road. So the road team is 5-0 in the conference semifinals. We'll see what happens coming up here as Denver and OKC play game 2 tomorrow. Also, it will be Boston and New York playing game 2 tomorrow in Boston, and some big time games for the home teams there. And then the Warriors obviously going to be back at it on Thursday as the lone game, and all the series after Thursday will sit 2 games in going into Friday and Saturday and the weekend. Steph with 13 in 13 minutes. He was on his way to 30 plus tonight. 8-19 in the second quarter. Steph goes down with that hamstring strain. Buddy with 33 after the career high in Game 7 at Houston, playoff high, had 24. So back-to-back games, he's led the Warriors in scoring 14 three-pointers made in the last 2 games, as Buddy played a playoff high 40 minutes in this one. Jimmy Butler, 20th career playoff double-double, 20 points, 11 boards. Also had a playoff high tying 8 assists in this one, and Buddy was really doing everything all night long for the Warriors. And Draymond Green, 25th place NBA all-time rebounds list in the playoffs, passing Patrick Ewing. So Draymond has been getting it done on the boards in a major way. All right, that's our fun with numbers for tonight. Let's get some Kyle's clicks. Kyle, let's run through as many as we can here in the next 4 or 5 minutes, and then we'll call it a night on that note and reconvene after Game 2 coming up on Thursday night. Joe H., maybe Chuck can guarantee Steph won't play Game 2 and he'll have a miraculous recovery. That's one way to get the job done, because Chuck is just on the wrong side of just about all of these discussions and arguments and all of that. From Joe H. to Robert Brown, Wolves couldn't hit water in a boat. No, they could not. 0 for 6. I mean, it was shades of the 0 for. It was shades of the 27 straight in Houston in the 2018 Conference Finals, Game 7. It really was. And then, I mean, the crowd went wild with the sarcastic cheer, too, when Naz Reid finally hit the 17th three. Don't think Minnesota's going to be that bad at any point in the remainder of the series. So important for the Warriors to get that win when Minnesota was that bad. EB here. The Timberwolves needed another day of rest. The NBA is so unfair. Again, you play a long series, you got to – if you play a shorter series, you're going to get the benefit of the rest. You play a longer series, you're going to be backed up. That's just the way it goes. If you want more rest, then end your series sooner. And if you're not good enough to be able to end your series sooner, then you're going to get bit by it. Didn't bite the Warriors tonight. Again, rest versus rust versus rhythm. And the Warriors had their rhythm tonight. And I'll say it, I think the Timberwolves, pretty obvious, they were a little rusty. I don't know. I don't think they were overconfident, but they were just off. And the Warriors were. It felt like if you divided Sunday in Game 7 and tonight into one game, it was like the first half was Sunday and the second half was. I mean, it all felt like one game to me. The way that the Warriors played, and they even did it without Steph. A couple of more here. Zerkerix. T-Wolves look like they are the one who played a Game 7. Yeah, they did. They looked a step slow. They looked like they weren't amped back up for the playoff force and the playoff energy and the playoffs. They just didn't look like they were up to speed tonight, even as the semi-younger team. Although, again, they got a mix of vets and young guys as well. It's not like the Rockets that have a lot of young guys just flying around everywhere. That might have been the most impressive win since Clay swept Portland by himself. When was that? 2017? 2019? They beat Portland a ton. But, yeah, they beat Portland almost as much as they beat Houston. When you think about it, 16, 17, 19, they beat Portland a lot in the playoffs, but definitely an impressive win. San Jose Jazz fan 4. Rudy was grabbing laundry on Loon Dog. Yes, he was. And Looney, I keep coming back to Looney. Looney's playable in this series. We talked about it with Papa and Silver earlier today. Like, he's going to be somebody that's going to get an opportunity to do his thing, moving forward in this series and kind of controlling the boards. And so, yeah, the Warriors definitely needed that. G. Martinez, Ant-Man wanted the Warriors. Be careful. You might get squished. We shall see. But, yeah, Ant-Man wants all the stars. All right, let's get our final cut, or our final comment here, which is our comment of the night.
Now, time for the Dubs OT comment of the night.
Ugo, let's just make sure Buddy has the right shorts on. Yeah, who's in charge of the short check now? Who's in charge of the uniform check?
Well, if
it's got to be Jimmy. It can't be Jimmy if it can't be Jimmy if it was Jimmy's fault. It can't be Jimmy.
I was about to say if Buddy Hield is deciding who's the last check of which shorts to wear, it would be Jimmy.
Yeah, I don't think it could be Jimmy. It's got to be somebody. It's got to be like Pods. Like Pods has got to be in charge. It's got to be, or Draymond's got to be in charge. Like somebody's got to be in charge of making sure Buddy's got the right shorts on. So that from Ugo, our comment of the night here to close up Dubs OT as the Warriors get the win 99-88 over the Minnesota Timberwolves. Kyle, great stuff, man. Really appreciate it as always. For Overnight Dave and Jacob Violante. And Kyle, I was going to ask you, anybody I'm forgetting tonight? Ryan McCarthy.
Jordan was here cutting Giants game, and it was going smoothly until
she gets credit for that.
Until the 11th inning, and poor Jordan. It was like one hit after the other, and she was like, ah. But no.
All right, so
kudos to her for getting all those Giants cuts as well.
Yeah, Jordan Pratari, she gets a nod for all the Giants cuts. Yeah, it was a very normal game, and then it wasn't, and then it was like you got to cut every play. And so, all right, yeah, she gets a hat tip there. And Jacob Violante.
And I don't know
Kyle
if you
Chung's
saw,
plus minus?
I don't know if you saw, but Kyle Chung came and walked in just to get his plus minus up. Yeah, he came and walked in. I really don't know what he was doing today, but he came and checked in today, got his plus minus right up there and checked back out. And the Warriors, without us even noticing.
And the Warriors are 2-0 in game ones when Kyle Chung just kind of pops his head in. So there you go. Sometimes that's all it takes. All right. So for the Kyles and Overnight Dave and Jordan and Jacob and everybody, I'm JD. We'll talk to you Thursday. That's a 5:30 tip back in the Bay. And so that means we'll be on right around 8:00. No Giants game on Thursday, so we'll be on right around 8:00 and go for we'll go until the people say they want us to stop, and we'll see if the Warriors can get a 2-0 lead or head back to the Bay. Even the latest on Steph Curry coming. Obviously, tomorrow Warriors are going to have a media availability, and we'll get the MRI results and all of that. So we'll pass that along as we know more. All right, that'll do it. Talk to you Thursday right here, KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Draymond Green, the hub of the wheel, finds Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield delivers a 3-ball.
Buddy was 0 for 8 until that bucket, and that's his first 3. So
Emirates Cup or bust.
Oh, hell yeah.
First of all, you get started off liking each other.
I'm super cereal.
Big fat dub.
Ain't nobody going to stop me. I just wake up and I can shoot it no matter if I'm playing or not.
But great win.
Who are these guys?
I love you, JD. Bye, sugar.
I can see the headline now. Kerr says Warriors better without Curry.
Jimmy freaking Butler puts it in.
Obviously, I'm shooting the ball well. It's pretty obvious.
Batman comes out of nowhere. You never see him coming, then he just fall from the sky, from a building, behind the door.
Everything's gonna be all right.
I'm Batman today. I saved the day. He's still Robin.